The next day, we are at SW Seoul Medical Center. Jin sits quietly in the corridor, his handsome face drawing the attention of passing nurses. His phone buzzes with a message from Jae-hyung, who's curious why Jin isn't at school. Jin replies that he's got an errand, and as he checks his messages, he sees his friends excitedly discussing their hangout and teasing him for missing out. Jin smiles as he reads his friends' messages, feeling a warm connection despite missing out. He leans back in his seat, letting his gaze drift around the corridor. His eyes fall on the room across from him, marked with a sign that reads, Psychiatry Department. The scene transitions to later that night. After Jin's intense battle with those Goonies, the police and authorities arrive at the scene. They round up all the criminals present, and doctors begin tending to Jin's sister. Yona approaches Jin and tells him that he should take his sister to the hospital, and promises to take care of the bill. Jin looks puzzled and asks why, given that his sister seems to be unharmed. Yona explains that even though Daeyeon doesn't appear injured at the moment, she may have sustained unseen injuries. The trauma of the situation is significant, and she emphasizes that it's crucial to ensure Daeyeon gets thorough medical attention. She also mentions that she recently discovered Gi-soo and Huijin Kim had been harassing Daeyeon, and while she's relieved they've been penalized, the resolution for the victims is still incomplete. She further explains that speaking with a counselor could be beneficial for Daeyeon after the traumatic experience. This is why we are waiting outside a psychiatrist's office rather than an emergency ward. As Daeyeon exits the room, she approaches Jin and asks if he's been waiting long. Jin reassures her that he just came here a few minutes ago. He then inquires about what the doctor said. In response, she explains that there's nothing serious to worry about. She will need to attend sessions once a week for a while, but overall, she's fine. Jin also shares that his own injuries are minor, just a few light bruises. The girl also let out a sigh of relief. She is relieved that he's okay. Jin's mind drifts back to how she was so emotional after being bullied, a tough reminder of everything she went through. She calls out to him, and he flashes her a smile, asking what's up. She just smiles back and says she forgot for a moment what she was going to ask. But inside her head, we can tell she's hesitant to bring up her question. The scene shifts back to earlier when the doctor was checking on her well-being. In the background, she overhears soldiers talking, completely amazed that a kid took down most of the kidnappers on his own. It just doesn't make sense to them. At that moment, Daeyeon is just as stunned by what the soldiers are saying. She's curious about how Jin can fight so well and what his life was like before coming back to Korea, but she can't make herself ask her any of these questions. As they walk down the corridor, they run into Yeona. The moment Daeyeon spots her, she lights up with happiness. Upon seeing each other, Yeona quickly asks her about how the therapy went. Daeyeon says it went well and mentions she heard Yeona covered the bill for her treatment, so she tells her she really didn't have to do that. Yeona waves it off, saying it's no big deal, and reminds her friend that she's the one who got her into this mess. She then apologizes to her sincerely. Daeyeon laughs it off, saying she's already apologized plenty. Besides, Yeona herself was a victim too. That's when Jin notices a massive bodyguard standing behind Yeona with a seriously intimidating look on his face. Despite the intense stare he is giving our boy, Jin remains totally unfazed. Yeona then turns to Jin and asks if he's had his checkup. Our boy quickly says yes, and Daeyeon chimes in, saying she had to drag him there. He only agreed to go after she threatened not to go to the hospital herself if he didn't. Daeyeon then asks about Seokju, and Yeona confirms he's in the same hospital. Daeyeon appears really eager to see him, and decides they should stop by before leaving. Even though she is excited about the visit, we can tell Jin's feelings are less clear. Still, they end up visiting Seokju, and Daeyeon makes sure to thank him for saving her from the blade. Seokju is a bit startled by her sudden gratitude and stutters, saying it's no big deal. She then asks Seokju if he's feeling better, and he replies that he's indeed feeling much better now. Meanwhile, Jin isn't too happy seeing his sister getting cozy with Seokju. He just stands there in silence, clearly uncomfortable. Even Yeona and her bodyguard notice that Jin seems to be troubled. Daeyeon then hopes Seokju recovers quickly. With that, they decide to leave. Yeona waves them goodbye, and they walk away through the main door. Once they're gone, the bodyguard is deep in thought, remarking how hard it is to believe that someone like this seemingly scrawny kid could take down a bunch of people at once. It's just unbelievable. Yeona chuckles and admits she's pretty amazed herself, but she isn't sure if it's something that would even surprise a pro like the bodyguard. The bodyguard shrugs and says it's not just about the kid beating up a group of guys, because there appears to be something way deeper about our boy. The bodyguard explains that our boy quickly and quietly neutralized over 10 guards, which is no easy feat. Even a trained pro would struggle to do that without some kind of backup. What's even more mind-blowing is that he didn't kill any of them. He just made them unfit for combat. And judging by the cuts on the 2 men found in the cargo container, his knife skills are insanely advanced, especially considering those guys were retired soldiers, not just a bunch of common thugs. He wraps it up by saying that, based on Seokju's report and the state of those thugs, it's pretty clear that Jin Yu is a highly trained pro with a ton of combat experience. Both Seokju and Daeon are completely blown away by this. A while later, we catch up with Daeon and Jin. Daeon quickly apologizes, feeling really ashamed that she always seems to need his help. Jin tells her she doesn't need to apologize at all, and that he should be the one thanking her. Daeon is startled to hear this, and Jin continues, saying he understands what it feels like to have a family now. You see, it is for the first time in his life he put someone else's safety above his own without any calculations, something he'd never experienced before coming to this country. So, he's starting to get what family really means.